You've heard what they had to say in the past week's debates. Now we're sitting down with Stamford's candidates for mayor to discuss their goals and visions for Stamford.
Obviously is put together the cabinet, and I would make sure that I had very well qualified and people with the right experience to make sure that we could address what I look at some of the very most serious issues, certainly with respect to the financial condition of the city. We need to put the financial controls in place. I think also get a hold of the capital spending in the capital budget area. So those two areas would be very important. I certainly would want to understand and get involved with the consolidation of the fire department. That's been going on too long. So I think they would be obviously very important. I would hope that soon we would get to see the financial statements. We haven't been able to see the financial statements. I'm on the Board of Finance. We still don't have financial statements, so that might also impact or set some of my priorities. Well, there's obviously several areas that we must attack. The city has over $500 million of debt, general obligation like mortgage debt, with about a $50 million payment that we make each year. And we have really unsustainable plans for retirement and retiree health. One of the areas that I want to look at immediately is then the health benefits, to look at the administration of those plans and how we pay $80 million a year in health benefits. We must look at more sharing and the design of the plans. So these are more the structural costs in the budget area, and it's certainly in that area alone where we've actually had some embezzlements by the head of the benefits area. We need to go and look and see what else was going on in that area. And I think obviously there are areas of opportunity. I think in the union contracts, they need to be negotiated. And in those cases, it's going to be a lot of the work rules that really drive up the cost of our labor. I think certainly we've got to look at the school situation with respect to the overcrowding and how we address the overcrowding. And in that area, I'd like to look at this idea that I've been proposing is using vouchers. In other words, instead of putting $5 million of modulars in place where we don't really have the land without taking away playgrounds or doing something suboptimal, I would like to see us consider vouchers where low-income people would participate in a lottery. They would get a voucher to go to a private school. This would be a typical public-private partnership, and we would have an economic savings because the cost of that would be less than what we're paying. We pay $16,000 a year to educate a child. So I think I think it might be one area that I would like to see is really to have school uniforms. I think if you put the children in school uniforms, it solves a lot of problems. It could address some of the issues bullying, etc. But a young student once in one of the high schools told me, he said, if we wore uniforms, we'd know who the strangers are in the building. And I think that says a lot. I think hopefully things don't deteriorate in the city where the gangs are such that, we need to put metal detectors. Again, each of these, I think I would really, have the police doing a constant assessment to see what are other communities doing and where are our, soft spots where we could be hurt, our students could be hurt, because their safety is utmost important. Well, on the Boatyard, and specifically on the 14 acres where the Yacht Haven was, I believe that should be restored as it was since the plan of development down there, that was supposed to be restored. It was never supposed to be destroyed as BLT did it. So it's a tremendous advantage to the city if we could restore this boatyard, make it a world-class boatyard. It would not only help the small businesses in the area, it would really increase by increasing tourism. And the Federal Reserve Bank president from the New York Federal Reserve District that we're in, he basically said some of the reason our recovery is lagging the country is because we're too dependent on financial services. So bringing another financial services company and giving them a site that's really meant to be water dependent use doesn't make any sense. I think the public access is critical. We have a very small piece of the short line, And to say that the BLT says we're going to give you public access, but you're going to be walking around a massive building, you're going to feel like you're trespassing. So we need to keep this open, and I think for the economy, it's a superb, much superior solution than putting an office building down there. And I think we would be building, if they put the Bridgewater down there, they would be outside the hurricane barrier, and that's very dangerous. What are we going to do about evacuating these people? If Bridgewater wants to be closer to New York or closer to the train, that would be an ideal location for them. Well, I think I'm the best candidate for the job. I think I have the right experience. I have more experience than the two primary candidates because of all the candidates. I've got a very successful corporate career dealing with a much larger budget, over $1 billion. Was responsible for 2,000 employees, heavily unionized. So I've dealt with a lot of these very complex organizations. Martin and Fidelli have dealt with they own their own businesses, very small companies. So I think I have the hands-on experience to deal with these issues and understand how to get things done inside. I think with respect to my experience in terms of, I've worked for 7 years now for the town of Greenwich. I'm manager of the year. In my first year I was eligible after my third year there. And so now I know inside the government, I know how things work inside municipal government. And I made the transition from a corporate, high-powered corporate environment to the municipal life and to municipal job. And I was very successful in that transfer. So I know the municipal and I know the corporate. I know the complexity of this issue. A lot of what's going on and what's wrong with the city is years of mismanagement, both fiscally and operationally. And quite frankly, the two parties, the Democrats and Republicans, have been in control during the last 2 decades, and they've done things that have really hurt our middle class. And when I look at economic development, which is important, every project, whether it's a new economic development, a company they want to propose coming to town, or a municipal improvement, we want to look at it. What is the impact on our residents and the quality of life? We're building everything down there between the South End development and now what the state's proposing at the train station. It's so much congestion in such a tight area that the quality of life deteriorates, and people won't want to come here and live here. Corporations aren't going to come here and be in a traffic jam. So and in terms of when they allowed BLT to build what they did down there, they've cleaned it up. I mean, that's obvious. It's 100% improved. But I think what we've built is really, they call it workforce homes for Manhattan. And the rents on those are at such that the people in Stamford don't have salaries to be able to afford those apartments. So we're building them for New Yorkers. Economic development, we cannot be sucked in by the big money, and I would stop. I would stop saying that we're going to just do transactions for the building permit fees, which basically the first or second item is the building permit fees, which is a quick fix, and that's again goes back to our financial mismanagement. And all of this occurred while Mr. Martin, he thinks he's a financial person, and he was on the Board of Reps, president and deputy mayor during the time. And first year on the Board of Finance, and then when I was on the Board of Finance, there was we discovered all these issues, in terms of embezzlement and even the chief accountant stealing. That has to be stopped. So I see a much higher, my vision would be that we would have a higher, it would be a lot of integrity, it would be very much open, more open and transparent than it's ever been, and certainly people who embezzle money will not get their pensions.